Hello, Ground Passers, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Ground Pass. We're in the middle of the Paris Masters, and I am joined by the one and only Jessica of Hardcourt. Now, Jessica, you've been on the podcast before, but quick reintroduction for all of our listeners.
Yeah, so I write Hardcourt. It's a Substack focused on the culture and business of tennis with a special focus on fashion as well. And my background is in journalism. I wrote about fashion and beauty for about 14 years.
Yes. You were with us for the US Open Threads episode. We talked about fashion, a lot of like high fashion in tennis, which was a very, very fun episode. But you are here with me today to talk about WAGs, wives and girlfriends of tennis players. And this is basically a group chat idea that is now a podcast. That is now a podcast.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a bit. And you also just today, we're recording this on Sunday the 26th, and you released today an article about the WAGs in the tennis space, or shall we say, like you said, the WAG space. Please trademark that because it is it's epic.
Yeah. So I put out this article because I wanted it to be sort of like a go-to guide, specifically for brands, but also just people who are interested in tennis more generally about who really are these WAGs. Because I think we hear about a lot of like the most famous ones, Morgan Riddle, Paige Lorenz, Ian Broomfield, who are associated with some of the like higher ranked players, but there are a lot of other WAGs kind of floating around the space that I think are really interesting. And some of them are doing some micro influencing. And then there's also a few that haven't yet entered that space, but I think we could see kind of entering it over the next few years. And so I kind of listed them as ones to watch. But yeah, it's just sort of a little deep dive into the whole WAG landscape.
Yeah. There were definitely some WAGs on there that I did not know of, weirdly, as someone who follows a lot of tennis and tennis players. But it was really interesting. I will link that article in our show notes of this episode, so please check it out. But what would you say, for people who are maybe new to tennis, I feel like the WAG space in tennis specifically has changed. If you look back, you know, let's say, for example, to the big three. I mean, you could obviously look further back, but let's start with the big three and who their partners are. I don't think they were as visible per se as the WAGs are now. Do you think that is just it's just because of the sort of culture that we are in now versus then, maybe, where Roger Federer's wife or Novak back then, it just wasn't a thing to sort of be as prominent as your husband?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think back then, there was interest in these women, but it kind of started and ended with like seeing them in the stands. Maybe some tabloid articles would come out about them, but they weren't out there like pushing press for attention for themselves. And I think the point you make about the culture is really interesting because, yeah, they didn't really have social media back then. There wasn't really like an outlet or an opportunity for them to create that platform for themselves. And so I think that cultural shift is definitely a big contributing factor to why we're seeing so many of today's WAGs kind of take advantage of this like slight boost in fame that they're getting from their famous partners and trying to build something more off of that.
Yeah. And you talk about building something more. I think there is this sort of idea from some sections of the fandom, wrongly, in my opinion, and I think yours too, that it's sort of like an opportunistic kind of thing where these WAGs are almost businesses unto themselves. They're building their careers and their platforms. Yes, they are elevated by the fact that their partners are tennis players, but they're separating themselves a little bit. And coming as someone, with our platform of Ground Pass, which is we want to promote the sport of tennis and like introduce it to new people and help them understand the sport, I feel that WAGs specifically are our partners in this. They are helping us promote the sport to a whole different audience. Don't you agree?
Totally, yeah. I think a lot of them have contributed to the rising popularity of tennis, the increased attendance of Grand Slams, which has sort of turned into these like Coachella-like events, which I know some people don't love, and there are things about that I don't love either. But I do think at the end of the day, it's just a benefit for the sport to have new people, specifically women, watching and paying attention to what's going on in this world. And I think they're not the only reason that's happening, but they're certainly a big factor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so we are talking today to a new member of the WAG Club. We are talking today to Emily Snyder, Valentin Vacherot's girlfriend. She's a new member to the club. Valentin Vacherot, who won the Shanghai Masters, formerly 204 in the world, has now been catapulted to the top 40. And by doing so, has also sort of brought along his girlfriend, who is now sort of more visible, I think, in the WAG space.
Yes.
I love that term. I really do love that term. And so, yeah, we're about to jump into an interview with Emily. So stay tuned for our little conversation. Okay, welcome everyone to this special bonus edition of Ground Pass. We're here with, should I say, the newest WAG of the moment?
I'd say
The
so.
new WAG on the scene. Jessica, you just put out, if everyone doesn't know Jessica, who is of Hardcourt, she just put out a new Substack about what do you call it, Jessica?
The WAG-scape, a term I invented 2 days ago. I'm very proud of it.
It is the best thing ever. I almost spit out my water when she told me about the WAG-scape, but I think it is like the best thing ever. But we are joined today by Emily. I will let you introduce yourself, Emily. But who are you, Emily? And yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Emily Snyder. I'm from the US. I grew up in North Carolina. I went to UNC Chapel Hill for my bachelor's, and then I moved across the pond to Monaco and got my master's degree in sports business management at the University of Monaco. And now I'm working remotely and traveling, not full time, but traveling a lot, obviously, for tennis. So yeah.
That is super cool. Wait, so you got your master's in Monaco?
Yeah, so the story is kind of crazy because a lot of people think that, well, me and my boyfriend met in Monaco, but I actually found the school before we met. So I was planning to go, but we met the summer before 1 year exactly before I was going to move to Monaco. And I was like 60% sure that I was moving, but I knew I wanted to move to Europe at some point, and the easiest way to kind of get your foot in the door into like a job or something like that, obviously, is going and studying there and immersing yourself in wherever you want to be. So the summer of my junior year in college, I studied abroad in Barcelona. Well, I did an internship in Barcelona. Loved it. And I was like, okay, I want to move somewhere. I didn't know where. I found a few schools and really had my heart set on Monaco. And then, yeah, that was ultimately where I ended up. And yeah, it was a cool experience. And I mean, I still live there now, so I love it.
Yeah.
It all works
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That is like, I mean, we could go so many places because I'm always the sort of person. I studied abroad in Madrid, and I'm always the sort of person who's like, everyone
Okay.
study abroad. It is like the best thing that can ever happen to you. But if anyone's listening right now, they're thinking, so why are we talking about college and business management on a tennis podcast? But Emily, your partner, who you're dating, is Valentin Vacherot. And if everyone knows about Valentin Vacherot and the cousin final, that is
Yeah.
why you are here and why we're interviewing you. And you are the latest WAG on the scene. And Jessica, you just did this awesome breakdown of tennis WAGs. I want to start first. Like, what is a WAG? Like, a lot of people might not know. I don't want to assume that people know what a WAG is, but what is a tennis WAG?
Yeah, I mean, I think most simply, they are the wives, fiancés, and girlfriends of pro, in this case, tennis players, but pro athletes in general. And I think the term has sort of evolved over time. It used to be kind of used in a very derogatory way. And now people are using it a lot more respectfully. And a lot of that has to do with sort of the different paths these new modern WAGs have crafted for themselves. So they're not just trying to like ride on their boyfriend or husband's coattails. They really want to create something for themselves, which I think is super cool. And I think that these women deserve our respect. I think more and more people are giving them that, which is great to see. But, there's always going to be the haters. But personally, I think that they are a net positive for the sport.
Yeah, totally. And Emily, I mean, just from your little intro there, I feel like you have a completely different career. And I kind of want to get into it a little bit. Starting with first, how did you and Valentine meet? Because I think like people might think you met in a different way, but how did you guys meet?
Yeah, so that has there's a lot that goes into it. So how I was just saying that I studied abroad in Barcelona and had found the University of Monaco before I went, maybe was like 50% sure on if I was going to go unless I got a really good full-time job straight out of college. So that was my junior year summer going into my senior year at UNC. And basically I told my friends, let's go to Monaco for a weekend. I want to see if I would like living there. I had been maybe for less than 24 hours before with my family. So I wanted to go for at least a few days and see if I would really like it. And we booked this trip. We're like, okay, we go the first night out to this club. My friend, we don't get in because she was wearing sneakers. It was this whole thing. And then the next night we're like, okay, we're going to wear heels. We're going to go back to the same place. And then my friend's like, you know what? I don't want to go. She's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to have to dress up and like prove myself to people. So then I had met someone in Barcelona that told me they knew a lot about Monaco. I text them. This is like 30 minutes before we're about to leave to go out. And I text him and I'm like, hey, just wondering if you know of a place that we could go that, you don't have to dress up, whatever. So he sends me this place. And I'm not kidding you. We get to this place that the doors open, the people working open the doors, and it's as if there's like a spotlight. That's so cheesy to say, but it's as if there's like a spotlight shining down on my now boyfriend. He's 6'5", so that helps. The reason why I saw him immediately, but I like hit my friend and I'm like, oh my God, that guy's pretty cute. He's really tall. I'm pretty tall. So it's obviously good for me. And yeah, so we meet at a bar in Monaco on the 2 days that I was there. There's a lot more to the story. We end up literally staying up until the sun rises. We go on like a beach sunrise walk. It's this whole extravagant story that seems made up, but I promise it's not. And I leave the next day to fly back to Barcelona. And he's like, I would love to see you one more time before you leave. And I'm like, okay. So he comes to the restaurant that me and my friends were at and he's like, I'll drive you guys back to your Airbnb. And there's this video I've posted on TikTok. You might have seen it if you've seen some of my TikToks. And it's from like a balcony and it's us kissing on the street. And it's from the day that we met. And a lot of people like don't even realize, like when I post it, people are like, oh, that's so embarrassing. They would go into the street and have someone take a video. I'm like, my friends took that the day we met. My friends took that from the balcony and it's just like so happened to be in that whatever. So that was how we met. And then I went back to Barcelona, not really knowing what was going to happen. And we texted, FaceTimed every day. And also to preface, when we met, I knew nothing about tennis. Didn't even know, this is embarrassing to say, but I didn't even know who Roger Federer was. I knew the name maybe, but yeah, it's bad. I know. And I studied sports business management. Like I should have known something. I'd heard the name, but like I didn't know the extent. Okay. So whatever. When he tells me he's a tennis player, I'm like, okay, so what's your job? And he's like, I'm a tennis player. I'm like, okay. So then anyways, fast forward 2 weeks later, I only had one weekend that I hadn't planned a trip the whole summer. And he's like, you should come back to Monaco. Also, he was injured at the time. That was why he was out at a bar. He's not that type of person, don't worry. But he was out at a bar, so because he was injured. So he tells me 4 days before, we had kind of talked about it before, but he tells me 4 days before, he's like, okay, I'm not going to be playing this weekend. And it was the one weekend I didn't have a trip planned. He was like, you should come back to Monaco. Me in my head, I'm like, my mother is never going to let me fly to Monaco by myself to see it. Anyways, she did. For some reason, she did. So then we saw each other for 4 days. Then I left, again, texting, FaceTiming every single day. I left study abroad a month-ish after that, and he was actually playing a tournament in Thailand. The day that I left, I got on the plane. He sends me right before I'm about to take off. He's about to play a match in Thailand, and he's like, "Yeah, one thing really quick, I got to tell you, I love you." And I was like, so at this point, we're like, I didn't know, neither of us really knew what the extent of what we were doing was. I mean, at that point, we had been talking and texting and FaceTiming every single day for 2 months. So there was a lot that had been covered. Like, we knew everything about each other, but we had spent 5 days together in person.
Yeah.
So, and I was going back for my senior year at UNC. I didn't really want to put pressure on long distance, especially long distance across an ocean, like time difference, 6 hour time difference. So there was a lot that was like in the beginning of our relationship, it was kind of not said, not much was said about like but we did love each other. I mean, well, 2 months was a little soon for me, but you know, I mean, when you talk to someone every single day and FaceTime someone every single day for like 2 hours a day, obviously you build that connection with someone.
Yeah.
So then yeah, I went back for my senior year at UNC, and he came to the US for some challengers. So I saw him 2.5 months after that, and then another month after that. And then I flew to Monaco for Christmas. And then we were kind of back and forth again, still like trying not to put too much pressure. But then when I fully decided that I was coming to the University of Monaco, we were kind of like, okay, it will probably work out as long as, but it was really last minute because I was still waiting to see if I was going to get a job in the US. So then June of 2023, I moved to Monaco, and that was like, obviously we're together. I mean, we had basically been together for most of the time before that. Maybe there was a little bit of like up and down, but it was, yeah. So not your typical story, that's for sure.
I love it.
No.
I love a love story like that, where it's just so intense and you kind of know, like right off the bat, that they are going to be someone special at the very least in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Fairy tale is right. It's like a little bit of a fairy tale there. So you kind of brought me into my next question there, because you said, I mean, Emily, you didn't know who Roger Federer was. I was like, girl.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You're learning and you're growing. It's cool. But so how did you get into the tennis world a little bit? And talking about, so of course Valentin's playing tennis and he's traveling the world. Did you immediately decide that you were going to travel as well? I mean, you're going to school, you're getting your master's. So what was that like?
Yeah, so, well, first kind of getting into tennis, I slowly learned. I actually told this story this week, which is one of the funniest stories. Val was playing Ben Shelton in a really tense match in Las Vegas at their challenger 2 years ago. Yeah, 2023. And there was a point, I think they were in the tiebreak, and Ben Shelton hit a double fault, and I started clapping like a lot. And they both look at me, and like Ben's pissed, and Val looks at me, and he's like, and I'm like, I'm so confused. I have no idea what I did wrong. I'm like, you won a point. Why would I not be clapping? And then after, he's like, you can't do that. Like, that's not allowed. That's not a thing. And I'm like, okay. So then took me a while to get used to everything, the scoring, because I knew how nothing worked, honestly. And so once I got the hang of it, and I mean, I started learning who the players were, and obviously scoring and how points work, everything. I mean, I would say within 6 to 8 months, I don't know, I would say I knew most of the players, and how everything worked. And then I moved to Monaco, and I didn't know anyone when I moved there, but moved in with two girls that were also going to the same university as me, and really wanted to prioritize, obviously, my studies. I wasn't moving there by any means for a guy. Like, that was not going to be point blank. Nothing was going to be for that. I'm a very independent person. I was like, I want to live with my friends. You never know also what can happen, especially since at that point, when I moved to Monaco, we had only been long distance and not even technically really, I mean, official, yes, but like there were moments that we were like, okay, is this even going to work out? So we didn't want to put pressure on it before, didn't even when I moved there originally want to put pressure on it. And I was like, okay, it would be really fun to travel some, but I'm going to prioritize my studies. I'm going to prioritize being with my friends and really building myself a community in Monaco other than just him, because he was the only person that I knew there at the time. So moved in with my two friends. That summer I traveled a bit. He was playing ITFs. So we really started from the beginning. ITF 25s in, I think we were in two in France and then one in Sweden, one in somewhere else, Prague maybe or something. And then after that, so that was summer. And then after summer, I started my school, wasn't able to travel at all for any. I mean, I was full time, and the school was really weird because they gave you your schedule 1 month before, and it was different every week. So you could have 4 classes one day, no classes the next day, 4 classes the next day, 2 classes the next day, and then the next week it would be completely different. So it was really weird. But yeah, I would travel with my friends a little bit for like fall break and stuff like that. And then Val played, I think, 4 challengers in South America that year. So then comes back, we have our little 5-day vacation. We went to like the mountains, and then that was the end of 2023. And then 2024 starts, and I'm not sure if you know, but he won 3 challengers back to back. And that was when he really started to break into the top like 150, almost top 100. That was when he got really close to breaking into the top 100. So then he got into Miami, and I used to live in Miami, and he knows how much I love Miami. So then he was like, I really want you to travel with me more if you can, whenever you can. And since he was making a bit more money too, that was obviously helpful that like his parents could start traveling a bit more. I could start traveling a bit more. So then Miami was the first, I think, ATP tournament that I went to other than Monaco, because Monaco was obviously home.
Right there, yeah.
So that was the first ATP tournament that I went to with him, which was awesome. And it was also my birthday. So it worked out that I got to travel, have a little birthday present. And after that was Monaco again. Then I went to Madrid, took like 2 days off school, or we had like a 2-day break or something, went to Madrid, and then still was in school full time though. So I wasn't really able to travel that much. Like I couldn't go to Rome, I couldn't go to any others. And then he actually got injured. I went to Roland Garros for 2 days and then had to be back because the Monaco Grand Prix was the same week, and I was working the Monaco Grand Prix for my studies. So I literally went for 2 days to Roland Garros, flew back to Monaco to work the Monaco Grand Prix, which, I mean, I can't complain. It was a cool experience. And then he got injured right after Roland Garros, and he was injured for 6 months. So it was a bit of a weird situation because we didn't really know that he was going to be out for 6 months originally. We thought it was going to be 1 to 2 months. He started traveling again. I was planning to go to the US Open, and I mean, we went to the US Open, and then he withdrew from his second round. He played a wild card first round and won, and then withdrew from the second round. And because he won that one match in 6 months, he didn't get a PR. So that kind of also messed things up. But then at this point, I had finished my studies. It was only 10 months of school. And then the second part of my degree was a 6-month internship. And the internship that I got was with a French company, but I could travel. And they kind of worked with Val a little bit. They were a nutrition brand, so like they were open to letting me travel and flexible with that. So then I was able to go to Australian Open, and that was when, I mean, he was healed and started playing again. And then this year I went to Australia. I went to nowhere in February, home in March, then Monte Carlo, then after that Roland Garros again. Yeah, so I've been like part-time, let's say, this year, that I've been doing a little bit when I can, a little bit, because obviously it's really demanding and really last minute with travel stuff. So even when you have a job that's part-time or remote, which is what I'm doing right now, it's different than the internship though. So I finished the internship in May and then started working in the job that I'm in right now. So it's still similar that it's part-time and really flexible, and I can work remotely from anywhere unless they need me to travel for work. So it's ideal, of course.
So it seems like, at least from what I'm hearing, listening to you, it seems a little bit like you're carving out your own career, doing your own thing. And when you can, you kind of are there for Val and supporting his career. You're not, at least as of now, from what I'm understanding, making tennis part of your career.
I think that might be changing a little bit because obviously for the last 2 weeks, it's been a bit of our entire life. So, I mean, when he was playing Challenger Tour and it was a bit more complicated, and for me, I wanted to prioritize, well, I work part-time. I work 8 to 10 days a month anyways, and I'm on my own schedule, which is ideal. And eventually I want to expand and have my own agency because I have a few clients that I work for. So eventually I want to open my own agency and like expand and have people that work for me. And I kind of just manage everything under that. But now with him going full-time ATP tour, not playing Challenger Tour anymore, it'll probably be a bit different because I mean, that's life-changing, of course. Him going from 204 in the world to 40 in the world is life-changing. And he does want me to be there. And before, it wasn't necessarily like a cost issue or something like that. But I mean, when you're making not a large amount of money each week in the Challenger Tour and you don't know how to plan each month ahead because you don't know where you're going to be traveling to, and it is so last minute, then that's a lot harder to do. Then now we know, okay, he's going to be playing either Brisbane or Adelaide and Auckland or whatever. I don't know exactly what it is, but either this one or this one rather than this one or 5 others. So for me, we're already talking about I'm going to come to Australia again, and then I'll come for the US swing because that's ideal for me also since my family lives there, my friends are all there, and I don't get to see them a lot. I see them every few months. So I think I will be more full-time now with him because he's going to be traveling more consistently and we'll know where he's going to be going. And then for me, my job is wherever I want it to be, unless there's a specific, like, actually, the week that we went to Shanghai, I had to be in London for 2 days for work. So I was in London for 2 days. We didn't even know if I was going to Shanghai. And then he called, like, that's just how last minute everything was. And I ended up making a TikTok about it. I was like, this is the reality of dating a tennis player is I'm sitting here on Thursday. And if I go to Shanghai, it would be on Saturday. So as in 2 days, and I don't even know if I'm going. And now that will change. So it will be nice that we'll know and be able to plan and schedule rather than super last minute things. But yeah.
Yeah.
Are you interested in like pivoting your career at all to be more like influencer focused the way that a lot of other WAGs have?
It's so actually when I went to the University of Monaco, I started posting and gained around like 20,000 followers on TikTok from posting like day in my life at the University of Monaco. So it's always been something. Social media was originally what I wanted to work in sports wise, and that's what I worked during like the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Other jobs that I've had were similar positions that it's always been kind of social media focused. So I've always had an eye, we can say, for working in social media, and really started with that University of Monaco content and gaining 20,000 followers. I was like, okay, this could be something that I would enjoy doing. Maybe not as my priority, let's say, but as a second job or a second thing that I would be kind of doing for myself. And now I would say 6 months ago, a year ago maybe, I started posting also tennis stuff on top of the University of Monaco stuff. And then it started taking off even more. And I would be posting stuff and it would go viral and whatever. And I would be like, okay, so this is like 2 niches that I'm kind of in. But then when I stopped going to the school, it shifted to more just tennis.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I would post like this restaurant in Monaco or day in my life in Monaco, but it wasn't getting the same amount of attention as either my tennis content or from before the University of Monaco content was getting. So it's a fine line that I don't think I want all of my content to be like centered around him and his career. I love tennis, but I want to keep like maybe my own niche in that, which is Monaco. So if I'm posting a bit of both, I think that would be ideal for me. And maybe that would be like a second job for me right now. I got my first PR package like a month ago, so that was exciting. I was like, okay, from Addicted. And that was actually insane timing for them because I received the package and I told them I would be traveling at the end of the month, probably to Shanghai because I didn't know for sure at the time. And so I was like, can I wait to do the 2 posts that I needed to do for them until I went to China? And they were like,
Wait,
yeah, no problem.
They sent it to you before Shanghai?
Yeah.
Wow.
Insane timing for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I literally had I was like, okay, I'm going to do the post when I'm in China. In my head, I was like, okay, I'll do like one reel and one will be like the outfit will be the cover of my dump. Well, that quickly changed when things started, happening.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, great timing again for them. I was like, okay, I have to post 2 videos. So then I ended up posting 2 videos because I didn't want to do a post during. I was really also very, what do you call it?
Superstitious.
Yes, thank you, superstitious about like posting. I did not post at all after I think qualifying. So yeah, it was a whole thing. But yeah, perfect timing for them. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, I mean it would be like a second, not my priority maybe, but I would love to kind of open and expand into the idea of taking it more seriously.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well. You're
Yeah,
gonna
right.
take advantage of it, and you've already been like working and focusing on sports, so it feels like
Right.
a natural extension.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask actually, compared to, because you were already doing a little bit of social media and you were getting followers from that. And I'm wondering, has there been a change from brands that were sort of contacting you then compared to brands that might be reaching out to you now?
Um, well, okay, so it's kind of also weird because I started posting originally I only posted on TikTok and I kind of saw Instagram as more serious. So actually just I would say 2 months ago, I started posting some TikToks on Instagram and really started getting a lot of like from like 4,000 to 7,000 in a month, which was a lot compared to because I mean I hadn't been posting videos on Instagram before. So I started getting like a lot of traction and that was when Addicted, that was who I did the PR with. They reached out to me around that time when I was posting like the TikToks and they saw I mean I was getting like 2 million views, 1 million views, 500,000 views on just videos that I had posted on TikTok and reposted on Instagram. So it was no work for me, no extra work for me. It was stuff that I was already posting. So that was the first brand I'd actually had reach out ever, I think, other than like the random kind of spam emails that I get that I don't think are really legit. And then since then, I honestly haven't had that much, which I think I might start working with someone who's going to kind of help me in that scene because I don't know much about it. But yeah, I think, and she said that, I mean, my profile is getting like 10 million views right now. So she was like, yeah, for sure, brands are gonna like eat that up. She was like, it's just now, usually you have to reach out to them unless you're someone that's gonna have like over 100,000 already, or like you're growing at an insane rate. She was like, you're obviously growing very fast, but it's the type of thing where it's still something that you're still under like 20,000 followers. So you'll probably have to reach out to them and then you show them your engagement and what you've done before and all of that stuff. And then they'll be more keen to sending stuff or working with you.
Yeah. Have you connected with any of the other so-called WAGs to get any like guidance on this whole crazy experience?
So yeah, I've had a PR agency that reached out to me about working with them for a paid rate, and that wasn't really what I was looking to do, but that was also before all of this happened. So, I mean, if I had started working with them, it probably would have been kind of ideal because then it would have blown up and whatever, you know how it goes. And then I was actually talking with through a mutual friend, I met Matteo Arnaldi's girlfriend, Mia, and we had been hanging out actually in Shanghai a bit, and I was telling her about that and the company had worked with some other tennis girlfriends before that had reached out to me. So I thought that was interesting. And they kind of told me, we can do this for you. But at the time, and even now, it wasn't necessarily like it wasn't influencer marketing necessarily. It was more like press stuff. I don't know. And I just wasn't in the position that I was like, okay, I want to pay this much money also to do that. So I've met some of the other, like Mia was kind of giving me some guidance because she also works with some people in Australia, I think. And she was telling me like, the US is another place that has a lot of contacts and connects with influencer agencies and stuff like that. And she was telling me for sure that you could also get someone similar and probably find something that would work like perfectly for my situation.
Yeah.
I actually had a friend her friend has an influencer agency. And so she sent me her contact and I'm going to meet with her sometime soon. So maybe soon we'll see.
It's so interesting. Like, I'm definitely gonna leave a link to Jessica, your Substack post about this WAG space, because I don't know much about it. The way I see WAGs in general, because where Ground Pass is coming from, I feel like wives and girlfriends of tennis players, they're a new way for new fans to get into the sport, because a lot of people coming to the sport right now are very casual fans. They see Morgan, they see Paige, they see maybe you, and it's more sort of like a casual approach to the sport. They want to go to the sporting events, they want to go to the US Open, Wimbledon, whatever, have a cute outfit, take photos, and it's like a very sort of low stakes entry into the sport. And I love that because it brings more eyeballs into the sport. It's more people watching tennis. It brings tennis into sort of like a different sphere. But for WAGs, like, there's this whole economy of things that I don't know much about. Like, I'm like, I didn't know there were agencies and,
Oh, yeah.
PR companies that you could call and, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, even I don't know anything about it, and I'm sitting here in this position. Like, I'm sitting here, and okay, cool. Like, people are telling me, and I'm like, great. I had no idea that even existed, but I'm glad I do now, I guess. So
I feel like it's very much like a learn as you go kind of thing. And the more that you're on, the main tour, and the more that you meet people, you'll get more acclimated to it and kind of find out like what is really the right path for you, because I'm sure there's a lot of like bad advice out there. So you kind of want to just like move slowly and make sure you're making the right steps for you, and not just like diving in head first and taking on everything that maybe isn't necessarily like what you want to do.
well, even right now, we're kind of, I mean, Val's obviously very new to the space and the media as well. So he's like very overwhelmed. I think it's finally hitting him that like he's getting media requests every day, like 10, which is great for him, but also for his mental and like, I mean, even physical, like it's really demanding to be able to be doing that much. Also, when he's at a tournament and trying to focus and keep like, okay, practice is the priority, and doing like physio, like he's been doing physio in the room every night until like 11 p.m., which is not like very normal for him. So it's definitely for the both of us. And even for me, I'm like trying to balance, okay, I don't want, like, I mean, I'm getting hate, of course, from a small group of people online that are like, oh, she's trying to, whatever. What people like to say is, irrelevant. But I mean, there's that side of it. And I mean, even for Val, he's also getting hate. And I'm like, the guy just won a tournament from 200 in the world. Like, man's breaking records and you're giving him hate. I mean, okay, give me hate, sure, I'll take it, that's fine. But him, like, he doesn't deserve any hate right now. And yeah, so
It just means that you guys are doing something right. Sadly, it's like just what happens once the
yeah.
spotlight is on you and once you start achieving things. Yeah, that's a very unfortunate side effect of
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine like what, where, or why. Like, it just
Yeah.
doesn't even make any sense at all. It's so funny, kind of, because I wanted to pivot into kind of the way you both support each other. I was listening to the Nothing Major podcast
Yeah.
Val was on, and he said something that I thought that is so interesting. How, I mean, before Sinner had to retire the match from Greek sport, and Val thought he was going to be playing Sinner, and he said that he was like, his attitude to it was kind of like, well, it's really great, I'm going to play Sinner and I'll lose, but it'll be a great experience. And he said that your response was like, why are you approaching it that way? Like, why do you think you're going to lose? And it was cute because he kind of said it was like, oh, you Americans have like a very kind of like positive
Yeah,
attitude to everything.
he always says that. He'll be like, well, Americans are just so like opportunistic, kind of like positive thinking and whatever. And I'm like, we've been working on it actually for probably the past 3 to 4 months. I keep telling him, because I'm working part-time. I have a client that I'm working for that she does coaching similar to that, to kind of redirect your brain into a more positive thinking mindset. And so she had been giving me tips for him, because she works with a lot of athletes even. And so she had been giving me tips for myself and for him, just to be more positive thinking in general. And I would come back to the apartment after being out for a day, and he would say, well, maybe one day if I make the draw, like a main draw or something like that. And I would be like, not maybe and not if, when you make it. So then he started, like, he corrects himself now. He'll say something, and just by me doing it for so long, probably a month, that I would keep doing it, and I would be like, and I'd sit there and I'd look at him and be like, so what are we going to change in that sentence? And so, yeah, I mean, it's something that it's been funny, but now he does it himself, and I'm like, see, that positive mindset is what's working. So, but I think, I mean, it's kind of like how the big three was before, where players are just so like conditioned almost to think that. And to add on top of that, actually, when the draw came out, I told Val, I was like, I think this spot would be, we like having like a little game, like whenever you see like who the qualifiers are playing. And I said the one that he ended up getting was one of the best. I was like, oh, that would be like a good one. Like, you play Laszlo Gere to play Bublik. That would be a fun match to play Greeks War, whatever. And then it was like Sinner would be fourth round. And then there was another spot. I don't remember who it was playing first round, but it would play Sinner. They would play Sinner second round. And he was like, no, I want that spot. Like, I'd rather play Sinner second round and even go out like second round with the bang. And I was like, hello? Hello? And so then when he was winning, and literally during the Greek Sports Center match, he had just won. What round was that? Third round? No, I don't remember. He had just, oh yeah, it was against, he had just played Mashak, who retired. Yeah, who retired. And we get back to the hotel room. I have a selfie of us because we're sitting there, and I check the score, and it's like, the score is like Senna retired, and so there's like the check on Greek score, and I'm like this, and then there's like a selfie of us, and we're both like this, and I like and we're both like, and I said, see, everything happens for a reason. And I'm a firm believer. I always tell him that everything happens for a reason. And I mean, now of course here we are. So
That's so funny. I feel like we all need you in our lives to hype us up. That's like good advice. I know a few players, frankly, who could use that advice. I feel like Anastasia and I were just talking about this, and I won't name any names, but we do feel like some of the players just like look at, like a Djokovic or a Sinner or an Alcaraz, and they're just so, it's almost like they respect them too much, and they're too scared of them, which, like, fully you should respect them off the court. I'm not saying you should demean them in any way, but like when you get on that court, you need to believe that you can beat them. And we were actually talking about Val because we were like, it seemed like, and maybe this isn't true, maybe he was just faking it well, but it seemed like he stepped on court and believed that he could beat him. And I feel like we need more of that energy in the tour.
Yeah. And we would talk about, even outside of before this tournament, well, before Shanghai, we would talk about, okay, I would ask him questions about a match, and I would say, what would your mindset be right now? If you were in that moment, what would your mindset be? And I think it helped him kind of shift, because it's like when you think about what you would be thinking in that moment, and then you aren't in that moment when you're thinking about it, you can shift and be like, okay, well, maybe I would be panicking a little bit, but if rather I thought it was first round or first set. So it's funny because then when he was playing, I don't remember which round, one of the rounds, probably third or fourth round, and I told him, I was like, I keep telling myself, okay, when you step on court, it's your first round. It's your first round, and you made it through the qualifying, and you're happy, and no matter what happens, we're going to be happy for you. And that was also, I think, what helped him, is like he just kept going. So it was like we were just happy no matter what. We were happy. It couldn't go down from there. And it was the first time he had ever qualified even for an ATP. So that was already exciting enough. But yeah, in my head, I was like, okay, it's the first round. And he told me in a similar way, when he would be serving for the match, he would be telling himself that it was the first game of the match, to kind of reset his mind. Instead of putting the pressure on, like, okay, I'm serving for the match against Djokovic, you reset your mind and say, okay, I'm serving the first game of the match. Like, it's fine if I get broken. Like, so I think that helps. And yeah, I mean, we would get back to the room every night, and we'd just stare at each other and start laughing and be like, what's going on?
It must have been a crazy, crazy time. Emily, this has been like really, really great. Like, very unexpected, fun conversation. And, I think tennis wise, I think for Val, this is like it's going to be a whole different year for him. He's top
Yeah.
40. Like that is so career changing for a tennis player. But I want to sort of end with you because I feel like just like his career trajectory has changed now as he is top 40 going into next year. He can pick his own calendar. He has so much choice. How are you looking at your career heading into next year? I mean, I don't think you thought this might be what you would be doing next year at all. Do you have any sort of plans, or are you thinking of anything specific heading into next year?
So, with what I'm doing right now, I love what I'm doing. Like I said, I really want to expand into an actual agency and have maybe some people that are working with me and helping with what I do, which would give me even more time to be able to travel and have a bit more flexibility on top of what I already have now. Because the thing for me right now is I'm only working with a few clients because I didn't want to give myself too much and feel too much pressure with the travel and stuff like that, which has worked out so far. I've only been working since June, since I just finished my degree, but I didn't want to give myself too much at first. And I did have a few other offers and a few other opportunities, but I kind of held off and I was like, okay, let me see first how much I can handle. And I think going into next year, one of my goals will definitely be to kind of start up that agency. I already have one friend who is working with me on some of the clients that I work for just to kind of spread that. I got the other position and I was like, okay, I need a little bit of help. So she's in school, but she was able to like give me enough help that it was ideal for both of us. And I think that's really something I want to push beyond, is take a few more clients, see how much more, if I can pay a few other people to also work with me, that would also be ideal. And then maybe a few other projects that I'm thinking of. We'll see what happens, but I've been in talks actually even before this happened again about maybe an exciting project that I want to start. So we'll see, but I have the right contacts in the right places. So hopefully that's another goal that I'm hoping comes together next year, and we'll see, but it's a secret for now.
I love this. You're like a boss. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
seriously.
you're like, who cares about Valentin?
Thank
I'm a
you.
boss.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us, Emily, on Ground Pass. Excited for the year ahead. And yeah, have fun in Paris at Paris Masters.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Fingers crossed.
Okay. So that was an awesome, 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 awesome interview with Emily Snyder, partner of Valentin Vacherot. And Jessica, I don't know about you, but I think the biggest thing for me was how independent of Valentin Emily is already. Like, first of all, and I think this might be the biggest sort of like, not aha moment, that's like weird, but sort of revelation, that's a good word, for probably most people listening to this, is how they met. Like, I don't
Mm.
think that's how people think they met. They probably think they met at a American college, which is what I thought. I thought they met probably when he was in college here or something
Yeah.
like that. But that was a totally new story. I love that.
No, it's like a magical love story. I love that. It is
Yeah.
so romantic, which
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
tracks with the way that we see them, around each other. You can kind of just like feel that connection. And I think that
Yeah.
was also a big contributing factor to why that story like pulled people in. Yes, there was the cousins, but there was also Emily and Val. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, yeah, no, they definitely brought the magic, and it should be made into a movie.
Absolutely.
Who are we casting? Let us know in the comments who will play who. No, but I really loved her independence. She's super business minded. Like, I'm like, that's a boss right there. And I love how she's already forming her career separate of who he is, and obviously now, like she said, based on his new sort of like ranking and how his schedule is going to completely change. She will be traveling with him more, but she has a separate career from him as well.
Yeah, it didn't sound to me like she was just like, all right, throw everything I've been working on, at school to the side. I'm going to dive headfirst into becoming your like cliche typical influencer. That was not the vibe I got at all. And I think that's really cool. I also thought it was interesting that her background in school is kind of sports marketing, sports business, and she's kind of been in that world already. And I think that could be a really big asset to her going forward in terms of shaping like what she wants to do, not just with her career generally, but what she wants to do with maybe the increased attention she's going to get now from Val's
Yeah.
success.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because episodes like this kind of remind me a little bit of our sort of like Meet the Professional series where we talk about people who work around tennis but are not tennis players. And it's fascinating. I wonder if someone listening to this who is maybe dating someone who's on the Challenger Tour or someone who's playing in the ITFs and listening to what it actually is like, because that's where she started when she was dating Val. Like, he was on the ITF tour, he was on the Challenger Tour coming up, and it's interesting how different it is. She was already building her social media following from there already, so that's interesting too, because I think, again, I learned so much from this interview. I just obviously assumed, oh, her entire social media following just came post Shanghai, but
Yeah,
no, it seems like the majority of it was built pre Shanghai.
yeah, definitely. It sounds like I think she was sort of planting the seeds long before this happened. And I don't know necessarily what her goal was because it doesn't sound like she was like trying to become a famous wag. It sounded more to me like she was trying to do something with her lifestyle in Monaco, which I think is very sort of exotic and exciting to people like us who live in good old New York.
Yeah.
But it is going to be an advantage to her that she kind of started planting those seeds a while ago and now already has this small platform that's like only going to continue to grow. And I'm curious to see what she does with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jessica, this was a super great episode. I really love things like this where, I think where tennis and lifestyle just sort of collide. Hardcourt, I feel like that is your sort of bread and butter. It's why I love it and why I read all your articles. Like, if you guys want to know what brands are starting in tennis and like coming into it, hardcore, that's how you find out. But yeah, thank you again for joining me on another podcast episode. We will see you guys next week for I think we're doing a full pod. I think we're doing a full pod next week because it's busy time. It's WTA end of year finals. We're going to be previewing the ATP finals. It's busy time wrapping up the end of the year. So we will see you all next week for a new episode of Grab Pass. See you then, guys. Bye.